All right, let's dive into one of the most ingenious algorithms that quietly secures so much of our digital lives, RSA. It's like a silent guardian for our online shopping, our private messages, and today we're going to peek behind the curtain to see how it works. It all kicks off with a question that sounds like a total paradox, right? How can you have a key that you literally give to the whole world, but still use it to get messages that only you can read? It seems impossible, but that's the exact puzzle that RSA solves.
So, let's break this down. The solution lies in a really clever bit of math that creates a kind of digital lock. And here's the thing, it's a lock that anyone can snap shut, but there's only one person on Earth who has the key to open it.
So first, what exactly is RSA? Well, it's one of the original and still one of the most famous public key algorithms out there. It gets its name from its inventors, Rivest, Shamir, and Adelman. And it does two absolutely critical jobs. It scrambles data to keep it secret, and it creates digital signatures to prove who sent it.
Okay, now for the real magic trick. This is the secret sauce that makes the whole system work. The security of RSA isn't based on some physical vault, but on a special kind of math problem. A problem that's super easy to do one way, but almost impossible to undo.
Here's the heart of it. Think about it like mixing two very specific colors of paint. It's easy to stir them together to get a new color. But if I just gave you that final color, could you tell me the exact original shades and how much of each I used? It'd be incredibly hard. RSA does the same thing, but with massive prime numbers. A computer can multiply them in a flash. But trying to take that giant result and figure out the original primes, that is a ridiculously hard task, even for the most powerful supercomputers we have.
And that right there, that's the whole secret. The entire strength and security of RSA hinges on this one simple, beautiful fact. Factoring enormous numbers is just mind-bogglingly difficult.
So how does this turn into our keys? Well, it's a pretty neat process. First, you pick two gigantic, secret prime numbers. These are like your secret ingredients. Then you multiply them together, and that product helps create your public key, the one you can share with everyone. Your private key, on the other hand, is mathematically tied back to those original secret primes. And because of that factoring problem we just talked about, nobody can work backward from your public key to figure out your private one.
Which of course brings us to the big, obvious question. If everyone has the public key and they know how the math works, why can't the bad guys just, calculate the private key and read all your messages? And the answer, once again, comes back to that very, very hard math problem. They can't do it because it would mean they'd have to factor that enormous number that's part of your public key, a task that, with today's computers, would take literally thousands, maybe even millions of years. That's the security that protects your emails, your bank info, everything.
Okay, so we've got the theory down. But what does this actually look like in practice? How do these two keys, the public lock and the private key, work together to keep a message safe? Let's take a look.
Let's walk through it. Say you want to send me a secret message. You take my public key, which I've posted for the world to see, and you use it to lock your message in a digital box. This scrambles it into something called ciphertext, which is just unreadable gibberish. That gibberish can travel across the internet, completely exposed, and it doesn't matter. Because when it gets to me, I use my private key, the only key in the world that works on that box, to unlock it and read your original message. Perfect, right? The public key locks, and only the private key can unlock.
But RSA has another amazing trick up its sleeve. It's not just about keeping things secret. You can actually flip the whole process around to prove your identity.
So check this out. Instead of using someone else's public key to encrypt something, you use your own private key to sign a message. Now, this doesn't hide the message, but it creates this unique mathematical fingerprint that's tied to it. Then anyone can take your public key and check that signature. And if the math works out, it's undeniable proof that the message came from you and that it hasn't been changed one bit. That's the whole idea behind a digital signature. So if RSA is so powerful and versatile, you might be wondering, why don't we use it for everything? Like, why not encrypt entire movies with it? Well, all that really intense math comes with a bit of a price tag: speed. This really highlights the trade-off. RSA is what we call an asymmetric algorithm. It uses two different keys. That makes it incredibly secure for things like swapping keys. But all that math also makes it kinda slow. On the other hand, you have symmetric algorithms like AES, which use the same key to lock and unlock. They are blazing fast, which makes them perfect for encrypting tons of data. So it's really a balancing act between robust security and pure speed.
So, how do we get the best of both worlds? Well, we make them work as a team in what's called a hybrid system.
Instead of using the slower RSA to encrypt a giant file, we use it for what it's great at, securely protecting something small and really important. So, we use RSA to safely pass a temporary, much faster key, like an AES key. Then, that speedy AES key does all the heavy lifting of encrypting and decrypting the actual message. It's a really clever solution.
All right, let's bring it all home. What are the big ideas you should really remember from all this?
First, RSA is this brilliant public key system that gets all its power from a simple but very lopsided math problem. Multiplying is easy, but factoring is brutally hard. Second, that difficulty in factoring is the absolute bedrock of its security. Third, it's a multi-tool. It gives us both secret messages and verifiable digital signatures. And finally, in the real world, it's a team player, working with faster systems to give us the best of both security and speed.
And that leaves us with one final kind of mind-bending question. We've seen how RSA can be used to safely send a secret key from one person to another. But what if two people could create a shared secret key together at the same time without ever sending anything secret across the wire at all? It sounds like magic, but it's possible. And that's a story for next time.